Hello there and welcome back to another review. So 1985 was a big busy year for Jackie Chan, as well as like doing like two of the Lucky Stars films, My Lucky Stars, Twinkle Twinkle Lucky Stars, directed by Sammo. We also had The Protector, was his second attempt at sort of breaking into the US, directed by James Glickenhaus. We all sort of know how that fared. We also had his answer to that, which was Police Story, the phenomenal Police Story. And we also had this film as well, Heart of Dragon. The translation is Heart of Dragon. It's sometimes known as Heart of the Dragon here in the UK. I remember having this on video back in the day where I had it under the title of The First Mission. So yeah, we'll be getting into this film today. Very, very different film to what you would usually expect from Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung. As I say, I remember having it back in the day and just getting into this. What I think about it. Is it a good film? Is it a good Jackie Chan film? It's very different indeed. Big departure of a lot of films that we've been making up to this point. It was a lot more focused on acting and drama rather than the action scenes. Originally, the way Hung intended the film was to have fewer fight scenes. The good thing with this film, I remember when I was growing up and I'd read books on Jackie Chan and documentaries and things like that, that there was other fight scenes. There was like a hospital fight scene and a car park fight scene, and you couldn't see them scenes. The UK release, they were omitted, and that is how the film's intended. It's not like if the scenes are in, that's the director's cut. The director's cut is pretty much without them extra fight scenes in it. So this was like a big thing among collectors, sort of back in the day, have you seen? And they were only sort of, I believe, in the Japanese Laserdisc version, or just the Japanese version in general. I know people behind the scenes when this film was being made, the sort of like the producers, distributors, they were telling Sammo, can we have some more fight scenes? Can we see you do some stuff? And I think Sammo very much had to stick to his guns with this. I think Sammo very much had to he knew the kind of film he wanted to make. He wanted to show that him and Jackie, there was more strings to their bow than just fists and punches and kicks and kung fu. I think the whole idea was this film was to just show, look, we're more than just one trick ponies. There's more things that we can do, and I believe that was the intention. And Sammo didn't, although like I say, additional fight scenes were shot, the two I mentioned, they were omitted from most releases that were released, and it's only like this version, luckily you can watch it with or without said scenes if you choose to. I watched this back in the day, as I say, and I owned it back in the day, but I watched it recently with the original. I watched the Japanese version where it's got the all the fight scenes intact, and as well as with the Japanese musical score. So yeah, we'll be getting into this, Dan. There's a lot, believe you and me, there's a lot to be said about this film, the Heart of Dragon, that I probably won't have time to get into in just like a short little review. I mean, I could probably take a whole hour talking about this film. So yeah, as mentioned, Sammo was not going to bow down to what the producers and that, were telling him to do. And, it's like putting a fight scene. Can we get to see you do stuff and like see you do some flips and kicks? And he's like, no, that's not the story I'm trying to tell here. This isn't the kind of thing that I'm, trying to do. I think, as I say, this was a chance for them to show people there was more things they can do in regards to punching and fighting. Yuen, obviously most famous, like the Three Brothers, worked with Sammo and Jackie on, Wheels on Meals, Project A, and, these kind of films. He's not in this, but I do believe he is the fight choreographer. I do believe it was him very much in charge of all the fight scenes, in production and things like that. I think that Sammo pretty much gave Yuen full reign control when it comes to the fight scenes, and there, believe you and me, there are some really good action scenes in this film. So the film opens with Jackie and his SWAT team on like a training exercise in the woods, and what is great about this film is what I always loved when I first sort of saw it, and it's, even now watching it, it's still obvious that you're seeing Jackie sort of acting with people who you only usually see in sort of a Sammo Hung production. I know this is a Sammo Hung production, but what I mean by that is it's nice seeing Jackie on screen with Lam Ching Ying. It's nice seeing Jackie Chan on screen with Meng Hui. You know what I mean? It's nice because usually these kind of people, they're sort of usually, Sammo had his camp and Jackie was doing his thing, that was sort of how it was. Sammo had regulars, Jackie had a few regulars that he worked with, but Jackie Chan, it's just nice about this film. You're sort of seeing him in very much sort of the Sammo camp, just acting, like I say, with Sammo's some of his regular crew that he employed. Peter Chan's another one. So yeah, it's nice seeing that. And Lam Shin Ying, I will say, he's got his classic big eyebrows going on here that he's had in so many films. All in yellow. At the start during this SWAT team, during this exercise, shootout scene in sort of the woods and the forest, and all in yellow, and I guess that's to make it more obvious, so they got to like sort of train harder, I don't know, just to make the training scene hard, the training session harder for them. Closest we get as well, that opening scene, it's worth mentioning, we get to see Jackie in sort of a Rambo-esque type, Sylvester Stallone type role. Something we wouldn't see much of really until sort of a film like The Foreigner. Just basically Jackie with their gun and taking out bad guys. I know it's a training exercise with his fellow SWAT team members, but it was a Rambo-esque type opening to a film rather than just, like I say, a fight scene or something generic like that. His character in this is very much police story-esque in a way, especially initially where the way the film starts, we learn that Jackie is a cop of sorts. He has a girlfriend and wants him to take more time for her. Jackie eventually goes to CID. Like I say, with the uncut version, which is what I watched recently, we get the great fight scene in the hostel against Liu Kar-weng. Again, somebody you don't really see Jackie Chan necessarily acting with that much, but here it's nice to see them two do an action scene together and exchanging some really fast, rapid punches and some great choreography there. So then we meet Jackie's brother, played by Sammo, who is sort of mentally disabled, and he's sort of hanging around with kids. It was a chance for, like I say, for them to do a real sort of, whether the film doesn't work is debatable, but I think that you have to sort of acknowledge the Heart of Dragon for just Sammo and Jackie really trying to say, right, let's not just, because they could have easily done what they always do at this point. They were flying massively high at this point, and it's like, no, let's do something different. Let's show everybody else that we don't just kick and punch and that's it. Let's show that we are, bearing in mind they were trained in not just martial arts, they were trained in opera and everything like this. There was a lot more going on with what their talents than just, like I say, fighting and kicking. So, like I say, Sammo's mentally disabled, and he's hanging around with these kids who sort of hang around the area near him, and they go and get some ice cream after they see people tipping. So they think, well, that's really cheap, because they don't realise they're actually tipping just $5, and it's like that guy just ate for $5. So they go in, they get some ice cream, and when they realise they can't pay, all the kids leave, and they just leave Sammo there on his own, obviously scared, doesn't know what's going on, just wants to go home, he's got nobody helping him, there's no support there. When they realise he can't pay, they start beating him up, and there's a lot of scenes in this film that are a bit uncomfortable. They are a bit, especially if you're anybody like me and you can't stand bullying, you can't stand bullies, and you can't stand anybody that picks on people that are weaker than them or can't stand up for themselves. There's some scenes in this film that are quite still, even now, I found painful to watch at the time, and that some of the scenes, I watched it with the original Cantonese language, they are quite painful emotionally, some of the scenes to watch, and quite uncomfortable. So they start beating him up, and he ends up locking himself in the freezer, and when Jackie comes to get him out after basically crawling through the vent, none of the staffs are that, they're not that helpful. Then we see them walking down the street hand in hand, and like I say, they're both brothers. Obviously, as Jackie Chan is looking after him, people laughing at them, making homophobic comments. And so this film is very cruel. It's very sort of, it's very uncomfortable sometimes. And and Jackie's pointing out to people he's my brother, we're not a couple, and things like this. We learn that they share a very intimate relationship as well, and it's probably been that way since both the characters were even younger, sharing the bathroom while Jackie's having a wash and Sammo's having a bath. We learn then that Sammo is a tutor who is also ridiculing him and bullying him, and when Jackie Chan is out, finding out at that point that he's been accepted by the Navy, the guy ridiculing him offers him a lollipop as he is crying. Sammo refuses and he's crying. He's saying, no, I don't want a lollipop. I just want to learn. There's that will and intention there that he does want to learn. He doesn't want to just, he wants to develop and he wants to learn new things. Jackie Chan comes back, throws him out, and even though that scene is painful, there is still a comedy, a slight light comedy element there, in that, like, he says, I don't want a lollipop, like, basically I just want to learn. Jackie throws him out, and then he's kicked him out, and then Sammo walks back and still picks up the lollipop, so he still gets the lolly. Jackie goes to propose to his girlfriend at a restaurant, where we have another one of the deleted fight scenes that didn't make it into the final cut against Liu Sang and Fong Hak On in the car park. Again, really good fight scene here. Unfortunately it was cut, but I think the film still works with the fight scenes in or out. I can understand Sammo wanted very much the film to be more focused on the drama, with just sort of the action at the end. Because a lot of audiences, I think especially in sort of some Asian territories, they weren't sort of as patient as like other, maybe more so than other countries. I think some, they just want action all the time, and I think that's what a lot of the producers and the distributors were worried about, that audiences would get bored, that they would walk out. But I think the film works with or without the fight scenes in. Obviously, as I went years and years where I had watched versions where it didn't have the fight scenes in, when I watch this film now, or probably any time forever, I will probably watch it with the fight scenes in. But that's not to say it doesn't work when it hasn't. As I say, when it hasn't got these extra, the car park and the hospital fight scenes in, that is Sammo's vision for the film, what he wanted it to be. So basically, the kids that Sammo hangs around with, they're just using him to get ice cream or get out of school reports, with like Sammo pretending to be their dad and things like that. When they find out that, when they tell him that his brother is dumping him to go away, we get probably the most powerful scene in the whole film, where Jackie and Sammo are they're really acting here. Jackie's like slapping him, hitting him, like, do you think I enjoy this life, having to worry about you all the time? It's not exactly a good life for me either. And you really do see a side of Jackie and Sammo here that is very different to anything else they've played before, and in many ways, Heart Dragon is very sometimes overlooked, sometimes forgotten about, and like I say, whether the film works, doesn't work is subjective, and that's a matter of opinion. But I think you have to sort of hats off to the pair of them for just being brave enough to give this a go, rather than just sticking to what they know and just playing it safe. They live dangerously here with this film, and like I say, that scene in particular, brilliantly acted, and I think a lot of that is lost when you watch it dubbed. But I think, like I say, if you watch it with the original Cantonese, you really get a really great performance from, but especially Jackie Chan. I mean, he really is acting here, and you can see that. You could see he was, really applying himself here. He wants to, like I say, he wants to have his own life, and he's, he even goes as far as to say, I thought of killing you, and I'll commit suicide after it. Then we'll both be free of this, and we won't have to put up with each other anymore. Sammo goes to get a job, and then we get probably the most painful scene in the whole film, where Wu Ma, who's, again, he's one of these people that he crops up in so many films, more than you can count, and he's like sort of taking the mickey out of Sammo. He's making him pretend to be an eel, and making him like pretend to be Superman, and it's just awful, and like I say, I just hate bullies, and I hate, even when it's on film, and I know it's all acted, but it just makes me so angry, and I can't stand bullying in any shape or form. Meng Hoi finds him, and he takes him back to Jackie Chan, and the two brothers hug. You can see the tears falling down their faces. I mean, really, emotional stuff. Then we could obviously we've got to have a villain in the film. We cut to James Tien, who he's actually been mentioned quite a lot of the films I reviewed, but if you don't know James Tien, he's like sort of the big supporting role in Big Boss. He was in a couple of the early Jackie Chans of Low Way, and he turns up like with Heart Dragon and quite a few of the Sammo Hungs in the 80s, Winners and Sinners being another one. So James Tien turned us up, and basically he's just he's sort of like a jewellery thief. And his regulars, we got the regular henchmen here. We got Chong Fat, Dick Wei, and then Chong Fat basically runs into Sammo and his kids, who are basically playing a game. Like his kid friends are basically playing a game with a toy gun, and the Chong Fat thinks it's a real cop, so he drops this bag of valuable stuff. He tells James Tien, who thinks he is like double-crossing him. Knowing this, basically Chong Fat goes to the police for protection, and they kidnap Sammo to basically lure him out so they can hand over Chong Fat, because, like I say, he thinks Chong Fat's gonna he's done the dirty of him on the dirt, like, because he's in police protection now. And obviously the handover has to be a construction site. Naturally, there has to be. That's where most of the most Hong Kong films, most Hong Kong action kung fu films, if it's not in a construction site or a warehouse or a factory or something like that, then something's wrong. They should, so here we get a construction site. Like with Wheels on Mills as well, the previous year, this film has a great car chase, and like I said in that review as well, do not underestimate these people that don't just think that they're just one-trick ponies, because like I said, even just car chases, they're often overlooked, but we get a fantastic one in Hard Dragon. We really do get a fantastic car chase. They all get to shine at the end as well, and that's what is really good when they're going to the construction site and Jackie's buddies go to help him. It's not just a Jackie Chan versus all fight scene, it is basically a group of them versus a group of them, and that's what's good. And it's nice seeing Jackie Chan and Yuen on the same team, and like I say, Yuen directing behind the scenes, and all that really adds up to make it a really good, and it's a very intense last 10-15 minutes. It's a very, very different from what we would get in sort of a run-of-the-mill Jackie Chan action flick at the time. There's no comedy here. There's no music. It's played a lot darker than other Jackie Chan fights. It's more brutal. There's a lot more bloodshed here. It's a lot more, like I say, it's a lot more real. It's edgier, as like sort of Sammo Hung films usually are. Sometimes if he's in the director's chair, they're a bit more. There is comedy elements still, but Sammo can be quite. Sort of, you only need to look at something like The End of Pedicab Driver. Like, there's comedy, but it's played like just every now and then. But just very intense scene. And the good thing is as well, like, they don't run out of bullets right away. The gunfight goes on for a bit. There's even an Indiana Jones homage in this, where this guy comes at Jackie with a shovel, and you're thinking, oh god, how's he going to get out of this one? And Jackie Chan just shoots him. Like the guy with the sword in Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's just spinning it, and Indy just shoots him. They sort of do that here, but this guy with a shovel. And there's a great fight scene between Jackie Chan and Dick Wei, who he obviously fought in many films, most notably Project A. And what's very interesting about this film, probably the most interesting aspect of all, is after they go to prison, which makes it's a lot more grounded and emotional at the end. You see them all get out one by one. It's not just they've saved the day, they've got his brother back, right, we've done it. Here they actually go to prison, they pay for what they've done. And what's great is you see them all the cops come out one by one and all take turns and take time to look after Sammo Hung. Jackie basically gave everything up for Sammo. And Jackie Chan's obviously the last one to get out, and you see he's not happy at the end. He's in prison. This isn't your usual Jackie Chan. This isn't your underdog, happy-go-lucky sort of Jackie Chan. This is a guy that's given up everything. He's doing prison for Sammo. Sammo probably doesn't even know what his brother's given up. And it's quite an emotional impact at the end. Like I say, trying something different with heart. Obviously, hence the title of the film. And the great thing is you see the two brothers hugging at the end, and it's a great way to end the film. You see them both smiling and walking together, as though to say, they're still going to be together and they're not going to leave each other, and after everything they've been through. And it does sort of wrap up. It's not like the kind of thing, we've killed the bad guy, up come the credits. Great way to end the film. It's worth mentioning that Jackie sings two songs in this film, I believe. I watched, let's say, the Cantonese with the Japanese soundtrack, and the song in that, there's a theme in that actually, I'm not sure, I think it is in I'm not too sure in the Cantonese, but if you watch the version I just mentioned with the Japanese music, the theme sounds a lot like Nelly and Kelly, Dilemma. If you watch it again, you see what I mean. But as I say, I won't keep you all day, but if you've never seen Heart of the Dragon before, Heart of Dragon or The First Mission, please check it out. Please don't think it's just drama all the way through. It's got a few uncomfortable scenes in regards to the subject matter, but it's still, as I say, a very undervalued piece of work, I think, from Sammo and Jackie, with great choreography from Yuen, and just a real should be appreciated for Jackie and Sammo being brave enough to try something different. So if you've never seen it, please check it out.